Well, ladies and gents, the ESS team have been typically mean and unpleasant and have set you main activity part 2 that requires an awful amount of thinking and a decent amount of numbers. You've got to the point, I hope, where you've looked at this and thought, how do I start? And I thought it might be nice to offer you guys a little bit of help. Hopefully, question 1 and question 2, well, these are, I think, the more straightforward ones. Now, for starters, we've offered you guys three spreadsheets. We have a spreadsheet here showing the access to annual renewable water resources in cubic kilometres. It's an enormous thing, a cubic kilometres per year. That's data table number 1, helpfully not numbered in the order that you need them. Data table, well, let's go in order of them. Data table 19 is a small selection of countries, and it shows you the consumption of bottled water. That's in litres per person per year. And table number 3 shows us a whole bunch of countries grouped by area. So we've got African countries, we have got North and Central American and Caribbean countries. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys. We've got South American countries, we've got Asian countries, we've got countries in Oceania, we've got countries in Europe. Now, let's take a look. I have a small visitor here in the room with me. James, would you like to say hi?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Hi.
Can you say hi, DP1?
Hi, DB1.
Hi, DP1. Good boy. You need to go back downstairs to Mama. I'll come down when I'm done. Okay?
I kom nu even kijken.
Yeah? Kom je nu even kijken?
Yeah.
Are you going to sit down and watch?
Of ik kan een puzzel tegen jullie.
You could also do a puzzle, that's true. People, we're going to carry on in the presence of my small pink friend, and let's see how far we get. When you look at the first task, you don't particularly need to find a country in Africa, just a country where access to drinking water has decreased over the time span recorded. You can take a look. Let's have a look at the Côte d'Ivoire, for instance. That's had a bit of an interesting pathway. But I wouldn't say it's a clear decrease. You're really going to look for somewhere that the number starts high and ends low. Let's find a number. Oh, hello. Number over here. So, in 1970, in Mauritania, 98% of the population in urban Mauritania had access to improved drinking water. Fast forward to 2008, it's only 52%. So something must have happened. Now, you can do this for an urban population, you can do it for a rural population, so people who live in the city, people who live in the countryside, or you can do it for the overall population. I don't particularly mind, we don't particularly mind. Find a population that you think is interesting, where there's a reasonable amount of data, and you can see a decrease over time, and find a population where you can find an increase over time. Then, once you have your population with an increase and a decrease, you can do a little bit of Googling and you can try and find out why this has happened. Has the population grown massively? Has rainfall shrunk massively? Have there been political changes? Have there been economic changes in the country? This is something that you can do for points 1 and point 2. Next up, question 3 asks you to rank the countries in Africa by access to fresh water. Now, in data table 1, we have the countries in Africa. Let's take these and let's copy and paste them into a brand new sheet. We'll delete this row at the top and we'll apply a filter across. And having applied my filter across, I can sort them ascending by this number. Cape Verde has 0.3 cubic kilometers per year at the bottom, all the way to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has 1,283 cubic kilometers of water per year. As a side note, you guys are able to see the date at which that measurement was taken. So we have our head ends up here, we've applied a filter, and we've sorted by the amount of fresh water per year. What do we then need to do? Rank the countries in Africa by access to fresh water. Is there a link between this and GDP? Well, now you have to do some research. Now, I've done a little bit on your behalf, and if we take ourselves to the website of the World Bank, and I got here by searching World Bank GDP, gross domestic product per capita. I clicked on the top link because I've got strong research skills, because I've checked it already, and I found this graph here. It didn't tell me a lot, but I noticed that I could download their data as an Excel file. So let's download it and we'll open it. And here, in the first tab, I have, year on year, the gross domestic product of each country. I'm not really interested in all these old years, so I'm not a history teacher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete them. Let's have a look. We've got 2018, so we'll leave that in there. Get rid of the indicator code. Just tells me that it's gross domestic product per capita, and it's expressed in dollars. I'll delete that. I'll delete the 2019, because I'm not interested in it. And country codes may be nice. Indicator name, we don't need. Let's delete that as well. Let's delete these chaps right here. And you have a choice. If you really, really, really love Excel, then I'm going to challenge you just to put the GDP numbers right next to these names, because they'll be the same, give or take, in every country. Or what I would do, if I were you, is in Africa there are 53 countries. So let's just say I'm going to check every fifth one. Let's find Cape Verde. Can't find it. Move on. Let's find Djibouti. D for Djibouti. Cabo Verde. Here we go. Look at that. And let's copy and paste that number in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mauritius with an M. Mauritius. I don't find. Not doing very well so far, are we? Let's go for Burundi then. BBB. Ridiculous. Let's go for Swaziland with an S. I'm not feeling confident about this one either. Let's go for Tunisia with a T. QRST. Thank the Lord for that. Tunisia. There's your GDP. See if I can find Libya. Maybe we can fill a gap in. L for Libya. So not really. My word. How rubbish list is this? Let's have a look. Can we find Lesotho? Lesotho, we found it. Now look, the point is not to have a perfect data set. Oh, this would be an extended essay. Eritrea with an E. the point is, oh, no data. It's also worth knowing. We're not going to do all of them. Let's pick maybe, let's take Rwanda is interesting. It's a good one. Or for Rwanda. OPR. Rwanda. And then all that we're going to do, let's take Botswana with a B, is we're going to fill in every now and again. Every fifth one. Namibia, we got on to note. Slightly more reliable names, LMN for Namibia. Let's go on again. Let's find Morocco with an M. Morocco. Let's go on to Senegal with an S. Now, maybe some of you guys, we'll leave it there. I'm sure you get the idea, right? That you can just click in and fill a few of them as you go up. In an ideal world, you then draw yourself a scatter graph where you compare the annual renewable water resource, delete that one out, to the GDP. What would that look like? Well, you'd have one on the one axis and you'd have one on the other. Here we go. Just delete you. Delete these. I want to get rid of those dots in there because they're not what I want. So edit. Find a dot. Replace it with nothing. Great. Close. Let's see what happens if we plot these numbers against one another. Let's insert it. Let's add a scatter chart. Well, at the moment it doesn't tell me a great deal, but what I do notice is at the bottom, in this left-hand corner here, I've got my, see what this number is now, I've got my driest countries, which have got the lowest GDP. And up here, I've got my wetter countries that have got a higher GDP. And over here, whatever this one is, I've got myself a country which is a bit of an outlier. Morocco, I think. It's very wet, but it's not as rich as you'd expect. Now, hopefully what you'd see is if you go in and you put more countries in such a graph like this, you can start to find a relationship. I'm not going to go any further than that because it's up to you guys to put the time in to finish this task. Lastly, let's take this one out of the way. You're asked to do a similar task, except that in that similar task, look at the consumption of bottled water. What different reasons do citizens have for consuming bottled water? Well, you can find that out by research. Look in some forums. Forums are interesting. Why do I drink bottled water if I live in Switzerland? Is there a relationship between bottled water consumption and a country's location on the demographic transition model, heads up geography students, or the Human Development Index of that country? And I want ESS only students to look at HDI, Human Development Index. Now, the United Nations publishes a list of the most developed countries, and it gives you a HDI, a Human Development Index, for each of these different countries. The Human Development Index, very quickly, if you just want to get an idea of what it is, the HDI of a country tells you, if I live there, what are my chances of a good quality of life? A big number means they're high, a low number means they're small. Things like political stability, education, healthcare, gross domestic product, life expectancy, crime rates. It's one number 1 is the maximum, 0 is the minimum, which tells you in a snapshot how developed a country is. So Norway, Switzerland, Ireland, Germany. At the top, we're down here at number 10 in the Netherlands. Boo, United Kingdom. That number should go down after Brexit. Is number 15 on the list. Sorry, that was inappropriate. If we scroll down, we've got some countries in the middle: Malaysia, Seychelles, Serbia, Paraguay in at joint 98. Now, I should actually say, by the way, if you go to gapminder.com, which you should be very familiar with from the grade 9 interdisciplinary unit with maths and societies, you can find some data tools here, one of which will allow you to look at how the Human Development Index of countries has changed over time. I'm not going to go any further into that now because I'm conscious of the fact that we've been going for a while. We can take the Human Development Index numbers and we can add them very easily to, just delete that because it's pretty partial. I'm sure that if you really want to look, you can find them for 2007 as well. United Arab Emirates. Find them here, or find a representative country and type it in. If it doesn't exist, don't worry about it. You can find Mexico, you can find Italy, you can find Belgium or Luxembourg, so pick one or the other. And see, again, if you can find a relationship between bottled water consumption and the Human Development Index of the countries. Now, chaps, that's really all that I want to say. Surprisingly, we've got to the end of it. If you struggle further, ask your ESS teacher for advice or ask somebody in your class who is excellent at this. For the rest, I'll say very good luck and we look forward to reading your answers. There will be no help video for the third part of this coming week's work, since I don't believe it's particularly necessary. Goodbye.